Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third Facebook Live event. And today we'll be talking about our partnership, Myrtha Pool's partnership with federations from around the world. Tell us a little bit more, Trevor.
Well, today we've got many federations with us from around the world that we have agreements with. And I think you'll find it very, very interesting. Hope you can stay all the way through. We've got administrators, we've got marketing managers, we've even got a coach on the presentation. So it's going to be very, very interesting. The ones you see on the board are the ones we have official agreements with, the ones that allow us to use their logo whenever we're doing presentations. And we have quite a number, as you can see. We also have an agreement with lots of other federations to supply materials, accessories, starting blocks, and so on. So if your federation is not on that screen and you're interested in partnering with us, we're interested in talking to you. So
and let's go. After discussion, we hope to have a lot more federations involved. First up, we'll start with FINA, a partnership that Myrtha has had for about 12 years now. We hope to be able to extend it for a much longer time, but this is a very special partnership for us because, of course, FINA being the world of swimming, it's one that we take a lot of pride in. We supply the competition pools for world championships, Olympic events, short course and long course worlds, temporary, sometimes even permanent solutions. So we're happy today to have them present and to talk a little bit more about them. But I think we have the expert here, Trevor, to tell us a little bit about the origination of this partnership.
Well, this is where it all started. The World Championships on Copacabana Beach in Rio. This was the first time FINA had a real special event for a World Championship, and it was very successful. 10,000 people in the stands watching, and this started it all. And I think it gave FINA the idea that really they should take their championships to the people, find iconic venues, and so on. So I think it's changed the world of swimming, and today we have Peter Hall from FINA, who is in charge of marketing, and he'll be giving us an update on what's been happening in the offices and what's been happening with FINA, how they've been affected by COVID, etc.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Peter. So jumping right into it, how is everything going amidst the current pandemic?
Are you in the office, Peter? That's the question.
I'm not, Trevor. I'm working from home and have been since basically the Swiss government introduced measures against the spread of the coronavirus here in Switzerland. So since the middle of March, basically, I've been working from home.
And has that had big effects, you think, on the office and the way things are working? I know it's very slow all around the world because of the current pandemic, but how is it affecting you guys?
We basically, for the last few months, obviously we have a lot less work on our plates at the moment because all of our events have been postponed, at least through this year now. And the events that we have, some of them planned for next year, have also had to be rescheduled. So the World Championships in Fukuoka, which was due in July of 2021, obviously, that's going to be the time of the Olympic Games in Tokyo next summer. So we had to also shift our biggest World Championships from 2021 and through till 2022. So yeah. Most of our work in the past months has basically been, with the postponement of events and planning for rescheduling those or restaging them and new dates, finding new dates to stage them in the future.
Well, most of us on the call today are sort of swimming federations, but of course you've got everything. You've got diving, synchronized swimming, open water, all having their own World Cups and events as well. So all of these, I presume, are all rescheduled.
Yeah, indeed. We had FINA has its own task force which looked into the situation around the world, and basically their recommendation was to not to stage events this year. The difficulty on some of the organizing countries for our events, in any case, they have their own restrictions. So maybe the government doesn't allow them to stage events, or there are strict quarantine measures in place, which means that if you travel to a certain country, obviously you might have to be quarantined for a period, or you might have to be quarantined when you come back to your own country from visiting another country. So that's obviously a huge, makes it hugely difficult for athletes, for coaches, and for organizers, all the event basically stakeholders to plan their events this year. And of course, nobody knows how the situation is developing in the next months, of course. So,
probably like you, I read the Olympic blurb this morning, and Coates basically saying the Olympics are going ahead, whether all the countries are there or not. I mean, that was a pretty bold statement.
Be there or be square.
Be there or be square. Yeah. So. Good. Before we leave FINA, I think we should talk about their Swim Pools for All program. Again.
Yeah, and we touched on this a little bit in our first discussion, actually, which we thought was a very interesting package to bring up, because we did a general overview of this kind of packaged pool in a box, pool in a package for a fee, a very reasonable fee. And I thought it was very interesting because we got a lot of feedback, especially from smaller countries, the Caribbean and Latin American countries. I know we have a representative from CCCAN, the Caribbean area, talking lately. It's coming up towards the end of the discussion today. But just to be nice to kind of touch again on this packaged pool.
But before we go there, Lani, let's let everyone know that on the FINA website, there is a Swim for All booklet that we worked with FINA and Pujol, the head of facilities, to create, and it's detailed on the FINA website, plus a video on Pools for All. So if you haven't seen that, it's well worth the visit, and will help the people who are building big indoor facilities.
Yeah. Now,
this is, of course, a training facility we're talking about, a moderately priced facility.
Yeah,
so.
Very basic 8-lane tank, 1.35 meters deep, suitable to host the head wall, starting blocks at either end. An ideal pool for training, especially for getting that feel of, Myrtha before the World Championships or the Olympics. And also inclusive is mechanical in the price. Am I right, Trevor?
Yeah, that's correct. Including price, and also includes a supervisor to go and help in the building process.
So really a package deal. Yeah. All for about 250K in euros. So very, very, very reasonable deal.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. You can stay on and be part of the rest of the program. And
thank you so much for joining us.
We're heading to now.
Yes.
Hope everyone's enjoying it.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are moving to North America and right on to USA Swimming.
And USA Swimming were our first real partnership and have been a very, very strong partner since the beginning. We successfully held an Olympic trials in Long Beach on a parking lot. We built 2 Olympic-sized pools, which you see now, for a terrific championship. And this was the first kind of special event for USA Swimming. It was run by the local hosts, and obviously USA Swimming decided we're going to do this ourselves, and so on. 10,000 people in the stands. More world records set at the US Olympic trials than at the Olympics themselves. It was a very, very successful event. And so now every Olympic trials, the US have an even more special event. They've been to Omaha 3 times. This is the Omaha pool, showing the crowd, which averaged 14,000 people per session at the last Olympic trials.
Kudos to USA Swimming.
Swimming.
The Rio facility was 12,000 seats, so even more than what was hosted at the Olympics.
It was unbelievable. And people out there, I mean, can you imagine over 10,000 people watching the heats every morning? Just staggering. Well done. And let's talk to Mike.
Yeah, and Mike, we have Mike Unger joining us today. Thank you so much for sacrificing your morning workout to join us. We're still trying to master all the time zones, having all these different guests.
It's snowing here right now, believe it or not.
So double sorry.
So there was no morning workout today, but good afternoon to you. Trevor, you stole all my thunder for what you just talked about for the trials.
Fantastic, but I think, we have a lot to talk about because we've just been talking with FINA about delayed events and so on. And, you've got to organize the trials. And as one can see from an event that has to be in a staged arena with so many people and so doubtful of what's going to happen come next year, it must be an awful task.
I have great now appreciation for all the other sporting events, or any event really that you're watching around the world right now as people come back to their sport, because so much has to change, so much has to be planned for in an event. Every event is so different. We spent a good hour plus on the phone with the PGA Tour and their tournament operations director some weeks ago, talking about what they're doing to come back. And so we are looking at this, especially for Omaha, because that's next June 13 to 20 will be our opportunity for the trials. And so we're trying to figure out what can or cannot be done, and whether there can be 14,000 people again, or whether, there's about 1,200 athletes that will be part of it as well. So all of it has to be considered, and there's a lot of stress around it. But the best thing for us, though, with working with Myrtha on this, we always said we had this line: we always had to bring the people to the pool, and now we can bring the pool to the people. So going to Omaha for us has been like such an amazing advancement in what we do from an event standpoint and a presentation standpoint for the sport in general.
Mike, how have your athletes been coping in this recent time? Because I know all the pools were closed. There was a shutdown throughout the North America. How did you cope with that for your national team guys?
Well, there's a big difference between the national team and then the rest of our athletes around the U.S., 400,000 plus athletes. But the national team, I think, was out some were out just for a few weeks. Some were out for a couple of months. I think all of them are back now training, whether they're in their normal pool that they typically swim in is not always the case. So many of our top athletes train at universities, and universities are now back in session. And guess what? Spikes in COVID are rampant around the country. And so many of those athletes are having to find, and their coaches too, are having to find different facilities to go to, not their normal pool on a campus.
And of course, that comes with time constraints. And I mean, if you do get space, I'm sure the time where you're able to be in the pool is limited now because less people in the pool at a time. So I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yes, we had, there were lots of Instagram posts and Twitter posts from athletes who were in their backyards on a tether. They turned their garages into workout, dry land spaces. We have athletes doing all kinds of things to stay fit. We even saw Caleb Dressel hiking through, I think, the Appalachian Trail, which is a famous hiking trail, with his family, with a big snake around his neck. I'm not sure if the snake was alive or dead. I'm not really sure. But they were doing all kinds of things to keep themselves fit.
Be creative and stay active.
And Mike, I know that you have no government funding in the U.S. So how are you affected by the coronavirus to your funding for the association?
Well, that's a great question, Trevor, because we have about 3,000 swim clubs around the U.S. All the athletes pay dues each year. It's just over $60 US that they pay, which USA Swimming receives, which is about 60% of our funding at USA Swimming. And that's been affected because numbers are down. And really this fall for us, September, October, November, are big months for us from a membership standpoint. It's when our membership year starts. And so we believe our numbers will be down significantly. But we don't know the exact number, and that's a very tricky spot for us to determine that. And then because it all relates to programming and how much programming can you do around that. So it's a big challenge. And like everyone else, I think on the call today, I think everyone would love to have a crystal ball to know when we can be back to normal.
In the meantime, we'll all just cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Or touch iron.
Exactly.
Here in Italy.
Yeah, whatever you do in your country, that's what should be done.
We have to keep the distance. This is 1 meter, by the way.
Okay, good. Yeah, I saw that.
Very plexiglass there. So.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Mike, thank you very much for getting up early and joining us. Stay and be welcome to the rest of the presentation.
Thank you,
thanks,
Mike.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, Lonnie. Appreciate the time.
Okay, so now we're going to come back to the other side of the world, and we're going to move back into Germany. And today we're joined by head coach Hans, who is the joint head coach of the German Swimming Federation.
Yeah, the German Swimming Federation have had fallen on hard times in recent years. And I think it was September, Hans will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think September 18, they appointed a new administrating officer recruited from another successful sport, and 2 head coaches. And Hans Vitens was one of those coaches. And if we look at the results from Germany, it's staggering that looking at my notes, but in 2001, they were 3rd in the FINA medal ranking with 18 medals, 14 medals. And in 2011, 10 years later, they only had 5 medals. In 2019, only 2 medals. But since these guys have took on ball, they've moved up from an unbelievable 10th place at the European Championships to coming 3rd in the European Juniors. So we know something's happening there. Hans, tell us all about it.
Yeah, so thank you very much to involve me in this discussion. I'm very happy to talk about with you about the progress now. So we are right now in a really good position with some really successful and experienced coaches in Germany, and we lead the German team as a team. So we have a head coach and a coach more for strategy and all the things around the national team. And right now, like the speakers also talked about the problems about the pandemic situation. But the German Federation is planning for the next 8 years to Los Angeles to come back to success. I think last year we had a lot of medals in the open water event, and also a lot of finals, 14 finals, and two medals. But I think also 4 fourth places, so really near to the medals. So there are some potential athletes coming back to the top of the world, and we have a good plan with a good team and a sport manager coming from the track and field. Really successful Olympic Games in London and also in Rio, and so we are really proud that we can build up a really strong team for the future right now.
Well, I see that your juniors are looking very good, very good. Are you doing anything special at the junior level to bring the swimmers along, or different philosophy?
We had a lot of problems in the past coming together for camps and also being one team. In the coaches of Germany had some problems, but I think also the pandemic situation right now, we are really close, really closer and together as one team, as one German team. So we talk a lot, and we will come together during the season a lot more times together with camps, and we have also add some people with a lot of potential knowledge we need for the future in our team. And I think the juniors are in a good way, but the young ones also are really good supported in the clubs and now in our national team team centers, and I think the progress will be done in some couple of years, and the plan is to build it up from year to year, step by step, to the Los Angeles Games.
Germany appeared on the news to do very well from their reaction to the coronavirus. Are your pools all open again now?
Yeah, in the beginning of this pandemic situation, it was really difficult. But our Olympic base centers are open, and we had for the A and also B national team. So for the juniors, really good training situation. We organized everything on a good way. But for the clubs and the young ones, so the Learn to Swim programs, this is really difficult. And for some of the older ones, one or two decided to quit, not going to Tokyo, but I think this is sometimes the way it goes, and we are supporting all the other ones to Tokyo 21, and also for Paris and our progress. And it's sometimes difficult, but at the moment, so since some weeks, we are in a really good progress, and happy to announce also that we will have our German championships in the end of October, beginning of November, as a season opener for us. This is also really important for us.
Hans, you're doing a great job, because now we don't even have to ask our questions. You're answering them for us. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because we can't ask you to predict the future, of course, but is everything, 7 weeks away for the German championships in Berlin, end of October. Are you foreseeing that everything will go smoothly? Of course, I believe at the beginning of October, you'll be announcing how the spectators will be viewing and what the regulations, but at the moment, is everything on track for that?
Yeah, I think everything is on track for the German championships, and everyone is really excited and happy to take part again in the German championships, and we also have some competitions around for the best of our national team in the high performance centers we have also, but the German championship is something special for all of us, and we are happy to have this. And also in December we plan a really small German championships for the juniors. Not forgotten the youngsters who will help us in Los Angeles for sure. And so now we are happy, and we are on track, and all the coaches are happy to meet again personally, but without the crowd, without any extra people, without parents, whatever. It's everything safe, and we have a good concept, and I think, and hopefully we will enjoy these German championships in the end of October and the beginning of November. Yes, for sure we will.
Yeah, and we're very excited as well, because I believe Myrtha will be playing a role as well. We'll be happy to see that come to fruition, and all the best for you guys, for the team, for the juniors.
Hans, thanks very much for joining us. I'm sure you'll have tons of international spectators now waiting for those championships and watching those championships. So I hope you've got a live stream from Germany.
Yeah, the progress is good at the moment, and we will come back, I promise. So thank you very much.
Okay.
We trust you, Hans. All the best.
Nice to talk with you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, and now staying in the geographical vicinity, we move right to Switzerland.
I like Switzerland. We're going there tomorrow. Oh, no, tonight.
Tonight
I travel to Switzerland. So we have Philippe joining us.
Hi.
Philippe. Hi, Philippe. He's the sports director in Switzerland, which I presume Philippe needs to look after all aquatic sports.
Yes, a little bit, but of course more for swimming, because we have a weak water polo team, so not much to work for them at the moment. There are ones working for that. My focus is on swimming.
Yeah, we like this.
Well, Switzerland is a very small country in the scheme of things, but you've got some terrific aquatic facilities, and I know we've built a couple there. which is why I know that you have some great facilities. But what is your plan going down for the future of new ones?
Well, you see, this is the pool in Uster, 20 from Zurich. And Uster has a tradition as already a long time. It's a new Myrtha pool, 10-lane pools, and it's the first one after 20 years that we built in Switzerland. And now suddenly, as soon as Uster was built, and many other cities around Switzerland thought that they have to build a new pool also.
And we like that idea.
And that's why we are planning to build another. We have already 2 pools with 10 lanes in Switzerland. We have about 10 times more skiers, but the same it's water also. It's also frozen water. But we like to develop the swimming. We have only 7,000 licensed competitors. So if we have 7 pools at the end with 10 lanes, we think we have good facilities, for each swimmer. At the moment, we can train with 3, 4, 5 swimmers per lane, which is the international standards, or even less. So we are quite satisfied to increase the quality also of our trainings with such kind of pools.
Yeah, and will all of these new facilities, are you thinking they'll all be including a super cool split bulkhead shown in the video?
Well, this is one idea that I had with the engineers of Myrtha Pool, to make a separate bulkhead, and also to put the lanes through the bulkhead, so we don't lose time with the people to change the 50-meter pool to 25-meter pool. And it is working perfectly. As you see, moving half of the bulkhead, or even the whole bulkhead, to 25 meters takes exactly 7 minutes. And this is much better than 45 minutes if we have to take out the lanes and put the lanes again and so on. So this is something that everybody likes in Uster, and we are ready within 10 minutes to make a 50-meter or 25-meter competition.
And Walter, we thank you very much, because these are 2 wonderful ideas that we were pleased to bring to fruition. And of course, we're now selling split bulkheads all over the place. So it was a great idea, and as you say, it's working very, very well for us.
Yeah. And what about the situation now in Switzerland? How is it coming back? The pool's opening again? What is the federation doing for training for the national team? How is that all working at the moment?
We are quite lucky, because we had a lockdown for 8 weeks or 2 months, from middle of March until middle of May, and then the top swimmers could train again. For example, here in Uster, we had only the top swimmers could go in first. The first 30 swimmers or what could train every day, twice a day, whatever, since middle of May. And then in June, the pool opened for the public also, so everybody could train. Also, the other 500 members of this club here in Uster. And in whole Switzerland, since beginning of June, almost all pools are open, except 1 or 2 pools in the western part, Geneva, or in the southern part, which was very affected on coronavirus in the Italian part, because it came up from Italy, the virus. So they closed a little bit longer, but at the other side, everybody was training since June now. But competition and training camps were closed. So we organized last weekend the first competition here in this pool in Uster, kind of city cup between Bern, Basel, Zurich, and Uster. And this was very appreciated from all the teams. So this competition are starting right now to become. We plan in Switzerland also the Swiss Championship indoor, middle of November, in the western part in Sion. And so slowly we start with the competition also. The training is already since June. Competition is starting already now in September. So we're quite happy, even though the situation is a little bit difficult, but we are quite happy with the situation, how it goes on.
Congratulations! It's very good to hear.
Yeah, certainly we're hearing and seeing very different situations in the different countries.
You know, the virus is in the mountain. You know, the virus is not in the mountain. The virus is in the big cities, in London, Paris, and so on. We are in Switzerland, a little bit more mountains, so the virus keeps away from us.
That's good, because I'm joining you tomorrow, so that's excellent.
Thank you very much for joining.
You're welcome.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're staying in the geographical vicinity of Western Europe, and we will move on to
France.
And today we have Basile Gazot, who is head of facilities and territories at territorial services, at FFN. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
And now you're also in a very important role, if I understand correctly, where you're overseeing pretty much the protocols of dealing with the current pandemic.
Yeah, I was in charge of the health protocol to reopen the pools. So I faced a lot and dealt with the coronavirus disease and the measure we can build to reopen French swimming pools.
Yeah.
And how long have they been open, Basile?
We had to face a closure from March to June, and we tried and we achieved to reopen the National Institute of Sports, where there is one pool, a Myrtha pool, for our top athlete and the French national team. So some of our swimmers just had 2 months without any swimming pools, and the other ones had like 3 or 4 months without any.
And the clubs, are they all back in action now?
That's our fight from the moment. We are trying now to connect with the local authorities who own the pools in France to study their territorial needs and see if it's possible to reopen, because they face a lot of economical issues by reopening their pools, and we are trying to find new ways for our swimmers to get back in it.
Very cool. Well, all of the best. Circling back now to, the technical partnerships. Myrtha being one of the technical partners for FFN, can you give an overview of the technical partnerships and the activities?
Yeah, we started the partnership and the technical partnership with societies like Myrtha Pools 12 years ago, when we started the service, the facilities and territory service. We had to share information with some societies who know how to build and to maintain and to operate pools. So we had to connect with them to learn how they work, and in order to help our local authorities to build decent pools who can stay in time. So Myrtha is one of our partners since 12 years, I think, and we have 20 partnerships today who can help us to give some advice to local authorities who are building the pools, and then that also help us to finance our large scope of activities, because today these partnerships are about 250,000 euros. So that's a good way for us to give free advices to all the towns and the city council who want to build pools without paying the French Federation.
No, it's a very impressive list of partners. Yeah, very impressive list across the full range of activities that a new facility needs.
Yeah, we tried to enlarge at the maximum the scope of societies, because we don't have engineering abilities about lighting solutions. We don't have engineering abilities about how the pools are made or they are maintained. So we need to get the expertise of societies to get all these advices.
It's a great idea, and I'm sure many federations watching will be taking note of this and looking to change their programs.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Well, thank you very much for taking part.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, good luck for the next couple of years. I know France has a big couple of years in 2024, so hopefully, with everyone's fingers crossed, things go smoothly.
Yeah, we hope it's going to be a great Olympic Games.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
See ya.
Okay, and moving now back to the other side of the world, I think it would be, we have Ahmed from Swimming Canada. Hello.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us as well as so early.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate to be here.
And Trevor, actually, before we started, asked me to do the introduction on Swimming Canada and talk a bit about what we want to ask you today. But I think it would be very silly if we have a legend like Trevor not kind of do the interview to you. So Trevor, and hand it over to you.
Well, I know too much about Ahmed, so maybe we'll talk about Swimming Canada instead. How have you been affected by this lockdown, Ahmed? I know most of our pools were closed. They were all closed, were they not, for a good period?
They were all closed. All the indoor facilities were closed 100%, and they started to reopen in July. Our larger facilities started to reopen, and then we're looking roughly at around 75% being opened just last week. So,
but you have to do a lot of lobbying to make sure they were open, did you not?
Yes, there's like many of my counterparts just before me here, there's so many different jurisdictions and health authorities in Canada. So while we could set a national framework, every individual jurisdiction down to the city level decides whether they're going to open their facility or not. So it's been a very large coordination with Swimming Canada and our swimming lessons partners, health authorities, different agencies to get protocols and confidence to open the facilities.
And what about the office, Ahmed? Are you still affected at the office by COVID?
The physical office is still technically closed.
Wow.
It was actually allowed to open a couple of weeks ago, but Swimming Canada has been doing very well in the remote environment. And so we'll likely look at reopening and bringing people back to the office in October. But in terms of operating, we've been operating at pretty much full capacity.
Yes, I know you've been doing some webinars with our representative, Dan Thompson, in Canada, and he's been very excited about those. They've gone very well.
They've been amazing. With each webinar, we've seen the numbers go up exponentially. So the Myrtha webinars and those that are running facilities, wanting to build facilities, doing both. So they're running multiple facilities and wanting to build new ones or renovate. We've seen the numbers go up with every webinar we've done with Myrtha. So there's definitely tremendous interest. And at the same time, the government of Canada is taking this opportunity to make infrastructure investments in the country. So swimming facilities and multi-purpose facilities are at the top of the list.
And separate from the kind of office space and what you guys been having to do outside of the training and the swimming, do you have any kind of idea of when you think swimming will get back to normal or when competitions will resume? I mean, sorry, not back to normal. Of course, we can't predict that, but you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. So we just finished off the summer outdoor pool season, and that ran at around 70%. The competitions there, so 70% of what we historically see. The competitions there, however, did not. So, and the competitions mainly focused on the younger age categories, the 8 and unders and the 9 and 10s. And that helped fill that void where the swimming lessons providers weren't able to provide swimming lessons due to the health restrictions. So focusing with the 8 and unders and 9 and 10s, that gave an opportunity to improve swimming for the younger athletes across the board, competitive and non-competitive. When we take a look at the year-round swimming, we're looking at different things. So one, the example from the summer of targeting very specific age groups, keeping them in smaller groups and having them run meets. And the second one would be to run meets virtually so that clubs can actually run a meet in their home pool and have times compared to other clubs. Now, not all pools are the same, obviously. Some were built much older than others or have been around longer than others. But as we adapt to the current framework, we're going to have to accept and adapt some things that we're not used to either. So until we can get back to some level of consistency.
Yeah. Okay, and you have Canada has some wonderful facilities. I mean, all across the country with the Olympic pools in Montreal, the Pan Am pools in Toronto, and of course the Windsor facility. What would you consider is missing from your facility strategy, if anything?
More facilities. So,
we like to hear.
But we're very proud that we have a large volume of facilities per capita. There are population centers across Canada, Vancouver, Toronto, that could use more facilities, larger facilities. Our population has grown dramatically in some of those cities, and aquatic facilities are in desperate need. And so areas such as those, Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal, where there's more aging facilities, indoor and outdoor. I could keep going on, but I think there's opportunities there as the population has gone up significantly in Canada over the last 20 years. The need for these aquatic facilities are imperative. And we see, the Toronto Pan Am facility as an example, that was built for the Pan Am Games. There's 2 50-meter Myrtha pools. And I remember the main concern was, are these going to be full? The issue now is who gets pool time?
Yeah.
And it's not if they're going to be full. So the aquatic facilities, once they're built, people do want to be in the water and do want to use them for various activities.
I'll just talk about the Windsor facility while we've got the photo up there, because this was a unique facility at the time it was built with a thermal bulkhead, which was new to the marketplace. So you could raise the floor at this end of the pool and have a different temperature. But also it's one long pool, 65 meters. So you can have diving, 50 meter swimming and so on. And Ahmed, you may be interested to know that the new pool being built in Paris for the Olympic Games is almost a copy of this pool.
Oh, that's fabulous. This is one of my favorite facilities in the country because of the way it was designed. In the back, you can see the 10-meter tower on top of that. So you can run a full swim club or 2 or 3 various aquatic activities, whether it's aqua fitness, different things in the shallow end. What you don't see is on the other side of the building is the water park. And there has been a trend with water parks being integrated into the pool. And this is one of those facilities that decided to put the water park beside the pool and share the same changing rooms. Excuse me. But the benefit here is that the pool remains competitive. The pool remains intact. And at the same time, meeting the other community needs, all under one roof. And so this is a fabulous multi-purpose facility. And it's one of my favorite ones that I've been to worldwide.
Really good comments. Thank you. Thank you for that as well.
Thank you. So this closes Canada. Thank you, Ahmed, for taking part.
Thank you.
And then we move on to a federation. It's very near and dear to me, the CCCAN, which is the Central American and Caribbean Swimming Organization. And today we are joined by Jamie Peterkin, who is Vice President of CCCAN. Hi, Jamie.
Happy Tuesday, guys. What's going on? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being joining us so early. I believe you've had to sacrifice the most sleep out of the group. So thank you for that.
Early bird gets the worm, right?
Yeah. So CCCAN Federation organization overseeing 27 countries, correct, through Latin America and the Caribbean, hosting a swim championships every 2 years or so. Can you tell us a little bit of what it's like right now? I know a lot has had to be canceled from this year's championships, possibly next year's maybe. What is the current status of how things are going there?
So CCCAN is actually, remember how it used to flip-flop CISC, CCCAN? It's all just become CCCAN now for full inclusion on a yearly basis.
Okay, yeah.
So everybody's now included per year, which makes it better because I think the competition is better when we include Latin America. We're in a position now where we're going ahead and planning for 2021, getting bids. Panama was supposed to be the country that had said they were interested in hosting and having all 5 disciplines. As of now, that has not been solidified. So we are still looking for bidders for 2021 with the optimism that we are going to go ahead and host that competition.
Okay.
And all 5 disciplines as well. So it may have to be split up between 2 countries, which we've seen being the common case over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Water polo and sometimes synchro going to countries that obviously have participants in that discipline. And then the other 2, because diving has not been very present in the Caribbean.
Yeah, I know diving is growing a lot more in Latin America. Unfortunately, not so much yet in the Caribbean, but it is interesting that hosting an event of that caliber, I know having to use different islands for the means. Of course, many Caribbean countries or Latin American countries don't have the facilities, maybe with a 50-meter pool to host, along with a warm-up pool, more to say for other sports. This photo.
Oh, that's St. Lucia. Yeah,
that's right.
First pool, you know all about that.
That's Rodney Heights. Yes, I do. For many years.
My first.
That was one of your first gems, right, Trevor?
Yeah,
one of the first gems you got to show up in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
it's excellent and still going strong. And St. Lucia are talking about a 50-meter pool still, which you know very well about.
Yeah.
So
I grew up around the premise that we were going to get one about 30 years ago. So we'll take it now 30 years later.
Better late than
never.
A
lot of it was Barbados really set the tone. I'll tell you what, Barbados set the tone for the Southern Caribbean with the facility they got in the early 90s. And Lanny's lucky enough to be born into that facility. I remember swimming the first meet there where it was short course and it was a club meet. And then I was moving on to the Texaco Games that Barbados hosted towards the late 80s and 90s, which was a big event until it flopped. But, interestingly, when you look at the Caribbean now, you look at the big 3 countries or big 4 countries, Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados. And obviously those are the facilities that have been most used. Aruba's facility is great, so they host a lot of meets. And, you look at the results from the Caribbean meets and Claire and behold, these are the Caribbean countries that are standouts at these meets. If you take the Latin American countries out of the mix, and it's a no-brainer, right? So you have the 50-meter facility. Your athletes are getting more compounded interest per practice, if you want to look at it that way, because you're getting more training in a 50-meter pool than any other facility. If you're competing in a 50-meter pool. So, those countries stepped up under the guise that there was government assistance. I do believe that there was a lot of interest at the time with a growing membership, as well as sports being at the forefront of these countries planning. For instance, Trinidad, I think, had a plan for 2024, something like 20 Olympic medals or something like that. That is what most Caribbean countries lack, is a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan. And how can you have a plan without a facility, really? So it's tough to tell someone like St. Lucia or St. Vincent, who just got their pool recently, go ahead and make a 10-year plan. Okay, we'll do that out of hotel pools in the sea, and we'll try and compete with all the best. It's difficult to look ahead and think you could do these things, which is why, the education of swimming or aquatics being a much needed thing in the Caribbean from a drown prevention standpoint, swimming for all, giving people the opportunity to be part of the aquatic environment of the Caribbean, which is enjoying the oceans and enjoying the aquatic environment, is really the language that we think as CCCAN we have to use in order to get people to buy into this idea that pools are needed and the ocean isn't good enough. Because I personally tried for years to get a program on off the ground in St. Lucia to have a swim for all and teach people how to swim in the ocean after school. And the government shut me down every time for safety purposes, not wanting to take on the responsibility of any grave situations happening. So, you tell me how I'm supposed to have a swim for all program without a swim pool, and I'll join that right away. But you and I both know it's not going to happen unless we have the facilities.
Yeah,
Topic number 4 for
this is something we tried to cover in Pools for All, Jamie. And I recall when I visited St. Lucia, met your father who was trying to build a 50-meter pool, and he said, "Let's go and talk to Jamie." And I said, "Where is he?" He said, "He's at the beach." And I thought, Jamie's sunbathing on the beach. No, you're in a training program in the ocean with lanes and so on. Tied up. Very impressive. And I'm thinking, oh, goodness me, so many small islands having to do things like that none of us from the developed countries can appreciate.
Yeah.
Great job, son.
No, and I'll tell you what, Trevor, one thing, and I don't know if the FINA representative is on yet, and I don't mean to pressure him so early in the morning or it's afternoon. But one thing I found that did not follow up well from Rio is, if you're trying to educate a predominant Black culture in the Caribbean on making aquatics part of their everyday thought, like, yes, I want to enjoy the ocean. I want swimming to be something that I do and I say I could do. I find FINA did, or whoever may have been responsible, maybe USA Swimming could have jumped in. Did a very poor job of marketing Simone Manuel after her success in Rio. And I think that FINA continues to do a poor job at looking at the people who are at the forefront of our sport that are of different color, that can really help territories like Africa and the Caribbean, which are the continents and areas that really lack facilities at the moment, and a pure interest in getting to feel, not know, but feel they can be just like. Meaning when they look at Simone Manuel, they're like, oh my God, she looks just like me. So what is my limiting thought or belief anymore? And that only lies within, what you would think, of me personally, I would think is somebody, because that's how it works in the Caribbean, these countries, somebody who has the energy and motivation and courage to go out there and try and make change and be that shifter who says, you know what, we can do this, we can have this, we can build a pool, we can be included in this discussion. But I feel first and foremost, you have to break that barrier. And I've been shut down so many times bringing this question up at congresses and FINA, at meetings that we've had at championships. I get shut down every time. I don't care. I'll bring it up all the time. If you want these regions,
and like we mentioned,
spoken like a good coach. Yeah.
And we'll have to dedicate an entire Facebook Live session for this because
Jamie,
it's a much bigger discussion for sure.
Listen, thank you very much for joining us.
But we're talking about how to get pools in the Caribbean. That's how we get pools in the Caribbean. People need to know that it's not a bourgeois sport and it's not secluded to a certain class of people or race of people.
It's an excellent point.
Yeah, very well said.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, bye.
Okay, and now last but certainly not least, we're going to have our representative from Swim England, Jane. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
Jane, when we talked briefly last week about the effect of COVID on the association, you told me that you had to lay off 70 staff members. And since that, we found out lots more information in talking to you. But can you tell the other people listening what exactly happened at the association re this?
It's been dreadful for us. We've been very proud of the fact that we make quite a lot of income from our badge sales and from our teaching. But the minute the pools closed, that turned off immediately overnight. So that lost us £400,000 every single month of income. We had to restrict.
Sorry, Jane, could you repeat that? How much?
£400,000 a month.
You heard correctly.
A month.
Yeah.
And, that's just completely meant we had to restructure. We lost over 70 members of our team. And the team that are left, I know that they are a great team. They will help us rebuild once we can get back up to strength again. But it is a small team now in comparison. We still only have 75% of public pools open. And those pools that are open are very, very financially struggling as much as anything else because the footfall is so much less. You can only have much fewer people going through. It's only lane swimming, no fun swimming of families and things, and not all our clubs are back in the water. So at the minute, it's a pretty dire position, I think, in our country at the moment with COVID.
Wow, that's incredible effect on an association in terms of finances. Just staggering. We don't think of that when we think of the pools closed. We just think about the swimmers. We don't think about an income that a federation can be making from the program. So, mind you, I think many of our guests will now be wanting to know why they don't run back to work schemes.
Well, when it works, it's absolutely excellent. So we run the entire framework for every distance, every stroke, right from little ducklings right up through all the stages. And it's a really good framework, and it's about reward and recognition. And we post out from our own warehouse around 3 million of those badges and certificates every single year. And the profit is around 3 million a year. It's a very, very high value product for us, but it's also high product value for the operators as well, because they buy them at a discount from us, they sell them at a sensible price to the parents, so they make money. So everybody wins, really. Parents are proud to have them. They're not an expensive item, even with all the add-ons. They're very, very good profit. So we just need the pools open and learn to swim happening again, and we'll be back in the game.
Another really interesting aspect I find of the ASA, and I said the ASA for some of our listeners because was it 1896 or something, Jen?
150 years ago. 150 years ago.
150 years ago when you started, so that's no wonder your badge scheme is good. But another thing that I found really interesting, you have a very active facilities department in the ASA, and do you still have to survey all the competition pools? Sorry,
we do. We do get involved in everything. To be honest, we're active in over 90% of all public sector swimming pool builds and refurbishments, and we're also getting involved in private ones now. So we support all the authorities in the development of their build strategies, and that determines what pools are needed and where they need them. We then work with them on the strategies which identify the requirement for new or refurbished pools, and then advise on the development of technical designs. And that, to be honest, is where our relationship with you, with Myrtha, is absolutely essential, because we have to ensure the design team on all projects are making the right decisions for the long-term future and the sustainability of our pools. So our relationship, sorry.
No, I was thinking that so many people complain about the facilities being built and not catering to swimming clubs and competition, and yet not many federations are involved in talking with the people who are building pools or designing them.
We get them right on the ground. So we make sure that we talk to your technical team and that we know all the new products, all the new technical developments. And that enables us to pass on all the better environmental, operational and financial advantages to the teams on the ground to help the decision makers to hopefully make the right decisions on both new and refurbished projects. So we strive to drive innovation across our sector, and the facilities team have been heavily involved in a variety of research projects exploring the new technology, including drowning prevention cameras and most recently working with the on-fire microfiltration. So we've got some slides I think it's worth showing you, because the first one is a really exciting concept for a major refurbishment project to completely renovate Crystal Palace, which was the former National Sports Centre in London. And it's so run down now, it's unbelievable. So this slide shows the pool in its current condition. Prior to lockdown, it's probably a lot worse than that now. And then the next slide will show the proposals that are being developed into a 60 million plus scheme to redevelop the entire site, including the pool tanks, the renovation and the possibility of removable floors. I think we've headed into Dover now, but so that's the concept that we're looking at, and it'll be a fantastic renovation. This will be a renovation I think we can shout from the rooftops on. It will just have everything in that we should need for competition, clubs and the local community, and health and wellbeing and everything.
And you've been involved in that from the beginning?
from the beginning. We've been working on that absolutely from the beginning, and all the financial meetings, all the trying to get the agreements through with councils and things, with London Mayor's office and that. So that's ongoing, and we are hopeful of that getting through. So that slide in Dover shows a new build of the Myrtha tank in the southeast of England, and look how clean and fresh it looks for us. It's a beautiful pool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah. And then the other two slides show Scarborough in the northeast of England, which is showing the build site. And then we have the snapshot of the Reba Stage 3 drawings, which show the tank layout and the Myrtha tank layout.
The Scarborough pool originated from the London Olympics. It was originally a legacy facility from London, I remember.
Yeah.
But so that was really a very interesting part of it.
Recycling, Trevor. And then you asked about certifications. So we do that. We then go in at the end, after we've been involved all the way through, we go into making sure that then we certify the length of the pools to make sure that they can host competition for long and short course events.
Yeah, it's excellent. Is he there?
No.
No. Are you still there, Jen?
I'm still here.
Yeah, well, I tried to finish off the presentation with one of your swimmers who is quite well known, but we blew it. It's not there.
I can see the
Listen, thank you very, very much for your information.
Yes,
I am sure you've got a lot of people out there now talking to each other about badge award schemes and taking control of the facilities in terms of licensing them for competition. I mean, it's terrific, the situation you have there in the UK.
Thank you again for taking part.
Thank you very much. Good, thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So that brings us to the end of our guest.
You messed up there.
I did.
Adam,
I did. I'll make up for it on the next one.
Adam Peaty was going to be the final slide there, and we're saying, after all that good work from Jane, this is what happens.
I'm sorry, Jane.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.